you look at even newer bands, Greta Van Fleet or the Rival Sons, or these bands that are just amazing that are playing big theaters, um, but they're surviving on the road. They're not going to survive on record sales alone. There's even in Europe. I don't think the record buying public for this style of music is what it used to be. I mean, it's okay. Some bands do all right. I was very pleased to see that Ghost put out that Impera album this year, and it was number 2 in the States, and it went to
Yeah.
number 1 in a bunch of countries, and they've been able to headline arenas here because of that. So I mean, every now and then a band breaks through, but for the most part, you're not going to see tons of rock bands doing that anymore. Hard rock bands, at least.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. You make your money on the road. You sell your merch. You sell your CDs. You on the road. You constantly keep in the public eye, and you make your money on tour. That's really what it is.
And it feels like the United States has been behind the ball as far as rock music for a while. I've gone to some really some bands that I thought would have a good amount of people there, and even playing smaller venues, it's hard to get anybody out. Like,
yeah, it's a perfect example is just yesterday I was reading some comments on social media about the stadium tour, the Def Leppard, Motley Crue, and Poison tour, and one guy was lamenting the fact that Def Leppard left off so many great songs off their set list, and somebody else said, "Yeah, well, they got a new album to promote. Yeah, I just wish they'd just play all the nostalgic stuff," and that's very telling. Because Def Leppard just put out a new album. Whether or not you like it or not is subjective, of course.
right.
But at the end of the day, this is why some bands are not putting out new music, because of that attitude from fans. And Def Leppard does. Def Leppard says, no, we want to stay viable. We want to keep putting out new music. My favorite band in the world, Cheap Trick, constantly puts out new albums. They don't care if anybody buys them or not. They need to stay creative.
Right.
Put out new music. That's how they keep their sanity. They don't want to be a nostalgia act, and they will go out and play some of those new songs. Iron Maiden does that. They'll do an entire tour and say, listen, don't come if you don't want to hear the new songs, because that's what we're playing.
Yeah.
And people still show up, but because it's Iron Maiden. But but like seeing that comment is very telling about the kind of the nature of a large portion. I don't want to say all, but a large portion of American fans who look at these bands that are older, that they love, but want to see them for the sake of nostalgia instead of wanting them to move forward and keep being creative, and then play me those new songs live. I want to hear those songs.
Now, here's another gripe that I've had as far as rock music and wanting new material. And I mean, one of my all-time favorite bands is Aerosmith. They haven't put out a new album forever. And they've taken, I mean, when I was younger, when I was, coming up in high school, being a Vegas lounge act was like something to laugh at. And now it's like something that all these classic rock bands are doing. Yeah. And it's, I don't know what happened to the rock bands in this country.
Yeah. You know what? I can't speak for, listen, all these older bands, these, again, legacy type acts like your Kiss band, and who are probably never going to put out a new album, or, I mean, they're ending their career supposedly, and their end of the road tour could go on for 7 years. Who knows? But Aerosmith, whatever, all these bands, they have all kinds of weird internal things. They're getting older. They don't see themselves perhaps as as viable to get in the studio. Again, like I said, there are exceptions. Your bands like Cheap Trick or Def Leppard or bands like that who are still, Iron Maiden, who are still, even Judas Priest, who still puts out new music. So there are exceptions, but I can't speak for them. At the same time, you go a little, you peel the rock and roll onion a little bit, and you get your bands like Rival Sons and Dirty Honey, and I mentioned Ghost earlier, or Greta Van. I'm not a huge Greta Van Fleet fan, but good for them. They're a rock band, and they're out there doing it. That's great. So they're, Dawes is a band that I love a lot. They're lean a little more Americana and folk, but they're a rock band, and they're putting out albums constantly and touring.
Another band I got to throw in there that I didn't really know them so well until I saw them open up for Ghost this past tour was Volbeat. I wasn't so big into Volbeat, but they have a rock and roll sound to them.
Another Danish band, by the way. Speaking of D.A.D. Volbeat. I like Volbeat quite a bit. I think their most recent album, Servant of the Mind, I think it's called, is was fantastic. And they've actually made a name for themselves. I don't know if they'll get to the point of like arena headlining status, but that co-headlining tour with Ghost was really good. I saw that show. Was really impressed with it. I've seen them opening for Metallica. They've done pretty well, and they've done pretty well on the international scene too.
Yeah.
They've done well overseas, and they're from Scandinavia. So
and that tour made me question if it was just the package, because it felt like there were as many Volbeat fans as there were Ghost fans in the show. So are we down to it has to be packaged just right to get the crowd out?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's certainly a possibility. I know that Ghost is going out again this fall as the arena headliner. Now that the album's been out for a while, maybe that'll help them. But yeah, no, you're right. I think a lot of these bands have to patch. I was talking to Jesper Binzer of D.A.D. and over the weekend, and he was saying he would love to put together a tour. I don't know if it'd be in the States necessarily, but even through Europe with D.A.D. and Michael Monroe and the Helicopters. They're all bands that could use each other to lean on as a package and tour outside of Scandinavia, because they're all Scandinavian. So to tour outside of Scandinavia and go through Europe, 3 bands together would bring quite a crowd to some big theater shows, throughout Europe if they could do it. So even he's thinking that way too. That's just the way bands think now. It's because it's hard to headline on your own. Greta Van Fleet went out last summer with Rival Sons supporting them. But to some people, Rival Sons, and they're not as big as Greta Van Fleet, but they're right there. They're bubbling right under that surface. I like them better personally, but whatever. I mean, they need these other bands to go out with them to to make the tours viable. I guess. I don't know. It's hard out there.
Now going to changing directions a little bit to Streetlight, man. I know you guys haven't had a new album out in a little while.
We have not.
And how long has it been?
It's been too long. Needle Down came out in 2016, and our Chinese Democracy record, our new one, looks like it's finally going to see the light of day this year. Between the pandemic and a few other things that happened over the course of the last few years that kind of slowed us down, we had a member change in the band, and we did a little slow recording, whatever. It's taken us way too long. But yes, 2016 was Needle Down. But the new album is completely finished. It's mixed. It's mastered. It's ready to roll. We're actually in the stages of artwork and liner notes and getting all that kind of stuff together right now, figuring out maybe getting a video done to put out in advance of the album. So little things like that. We have a tour coming up, which we'll talk about, but but once we get back from that, it's going to be full steam ahead on putting this thing out. So.
Now, as far as this album is concerned, any marked difference between this one and the last one? Like, what would you say the main differences are between this and the last album?
I know it's kind of cliche to say that we think we've grown as a band, but I think we have. I think that the writing on this album, I basically come into the band with the skeletons of the songs, and then George and Eric and Alex kind of help punch them up a little bit. I think these songs, first of all, I think these songs are better. I think this is without a doubt our best full collection of songs we're going to put out. And people will have their favorites, and people may quibble and say, I like Ghetto Blaster from your last album, and I like Downside better. That's fine. Good. That's great. Like what we do. I hope you do.
Right.
But for us, I think we're all looking at this album like this is something special. We also acquired the services of numerous pretty cool guest, rock and roll guests on this record. I haven't announced all of them yet, but we have mentioned that Brian Forsyth of Kix,
good guy,
plays on the record. And I will say that Jesper Binzer and Jacob Binzer of D.A.D. appear on this record. And we got a couple others that I think some people will be surprised by as well. But we gotta leave something for the release.
So let me ask you, now that we talked a lot about the overseas market and how things are a little bit more there, is there a thought in the mind of Streetlight Circus to kind of market it a little bit different.
Yes, absolutely. We kind of did a DIY tour of the United Kingdom in 2018. It went really well. I mean, obviously some shows better than others, but we made some fans. We made a lot of friends. We met some good promoters out there. So that was kind of our foot in the water there. We are hoping and we're looking to push this album a little more overseas than here. And we're hoping, if things go as planned, that next summer will be one where we do a little more extensive work on the other side of the pond. We will see. I mean, nothing's been booked yet, but that's kind of what we have our eye on. And in addition to the stuff we do locally or here in the States, is to do a little more overseas and maybe, whether it's a festival show or a small tour or something like that, try to open some eyes and ears, in that part of the world, where, again, try to, I mean, we got, like I said, joked to you earlier before we went on air here, if you don't move, you die, we got to keep moving. So, trying to find new things, trying to find new horizons, new places to expand the brand, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Now, as talking about expanding the brand and that tour that you guys are getting ready to go on, I was looking at some of the dates, and man, you guys are everywhere coming up.
Yeah, we're trying. Well, we were fortunate enough to be asked back to Rockfest in Wisconsin, in Cadott, Wisconsin. We're playing Rockfest on Friday, July 15th. It's a great festival. We were talking about European festivals, but as American festivals go, you have your M3 festival here on the East Coast, which is great for the more nostalgia, 80s hard rock acts. It's a great festival. We've played it twice. We've loved it. But the Rockfest in Wisconsin is more of a blends in a lot of the more modern stuff. Everybody from John 5 is on the bill, Lamb of God and Disturbed and Hailstorm and the Pretty Reckless and all of these great bands, Butcher Babies and stuff. And we are fortunate to be on that bill on Friday the 15th. So we worked out a tour to kind of coincide with our travels out there. So yeah, we're going to be headed up to, where are we going? Rochester, Toronto, Grand Rapids, Indianapolis, a couple of dates in Illinois, Chicago area, and Lombard. We had an Iowa City show we're trying to work out. That sounds like that one may have fallen through, but whatever. A bunch of good dates coming up, and people can go to streetlightcircus.com and see the list of the dates and hopefully catch up with us on some of these.
Are all these like first dates for you guys in these venues?
Some of them yes, some of them no. We've played Rochester a bunch, not at this venue. We're playing the Montage Music Hall in Rochester. We've played in Rochester before because our drummer Eric Fehrenbach is originally from Rochester, so we've got a good crew of fans and friends up there. The place we're playing in Toronto, Rockpile, we have played before. Lombard, Illinois, at Brower House, we opened for Junkyard there last summer. Nice. But the other venues are new. Indianapolis, we've never been to Indianapolis. We've never been to we've been to Michigan, but not to Grand Rapids. We have not played the Live Wire Lounge in Chicago, which I hear is a really cool old school rock and roll venue. We're looking forward to that. So yeah, we're a few places we've been to, and a few places we're gonna try to expose ourselves to, indecently and properly. And
you guys have run the gamut as far as opening acts for some of these major artists.
Yeah.
I know just recently you guys opened for Firehouse. You opened up for Ace Frehley. Got to hang with Ace Frehley. I saw some of the pictures. That was pretty cool. So how is that? Any favorite bands that you like opening for?
First of all, I will say that the Ace Frehley show we did about 2 weeks ago at the Sherman Theater in Pennsylvania was an incredible event for us. Not only were we opening for somebody who was a hero to my guitar players, like you would not believe, and my drummer. Three of these guys, the other three guys in my band grew up as rabid Kiss fans. I was growing up as a Cheap Trick fan when they were growing up as Kiss fans. I love Kiss, but those guys are like, over the
right.
So so just for that purpose alone, getting that show for them was enormous. And we don't know people. We've never played that theater before. Stroudsburg, PA was a new territory for us. And those fans, those Ace Frehley fans, gave us so much love. They were so loud and boisterous, and you know, hanging out with us at the merch table later. That was an incredible night for us. So that was a lot of fun. The Firehouse show was down at the Tally Ho Theater in Leesburg, Virginia. We've played that theater a bunch, opening up for Kicks several times, Blue Oyster Cult, Buck Cherry, and now Firehouse. So that's a place that's become like a second home to us. So that's a great place to play. Rams Head Live in Baltimore is another place we played with Kicks a few times. 1,500 people in there, and they know us a little bit, and then they give us a lot of love there. So those are probably some of the best of those shows that we've done in terms of just big crowds that are kind of making your job on stage easier, because they're giving back what you're trying to put out into the ether. They're giving back with some love and appreciation. So those are places we really enjoy playing.
So I got to ask you, as a frontman, are you a victim of stage fright at any point? Or are you
not anymore? No, I love it. Listen, if you're gonna do what I'm doing, getting in front and talking to the audience, you better be a ham.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there are some musicians who probably struggle with it, but and listen, there are nights where, like, we'll talk after the show, and I'll say to the guys, "Man, I have to work." You can tell when you have to work a little harder to kind of rope the fans in. That was a tough crowd tonight. We had to work a little harder, but we always feel we're four guys who feel like we put on a dynamic enough show, and those guys trust me to do what I have to do at the microphone, and we feel that by the end of the set, we're gonna have these people. We always go in with that confidence, with that mindset, and I would say most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Let's take that the opposite direction. And I know you've been there, as far as like showing up and there's like 15 people in the crowd.
Yeah. Listen, here's the bottom line. If we have a night, and it happened to us in Edinburgh, Scotland, when we were on the UK tour. It was a Wednesday night in Scotland, and it's happened in a few other places too, of course, where we're playing in places where people don't know us. And there's only a handful of people there, and they're like looking at you, with their arms crossed, and the whole thing. But at the end of the day, those people paid admission to get there. They've decided that that's what they're going to do with their evening, right? They're going to be at this venue, drinking beer, buying cocktails, seeing who's on the stage. And so, listen, if you do what we do, and if you're a musician and you're playing in front of 10 people, or you're playing in front of 15 people, or you're playing in front of 2,000 people or 10,000 people, whatever it is, everybody who's in there deserves a show. They deserve their money's worth. And so I can't sit there and worry about the fact that we didn't draw tonight, or people don't know us in this town, or there's 10 people, because those 10 people decided that's what they were doing with their night, decided they were going to go there. And so to give them anything less than 100% is a disservice to those people, and frankly, it's rude to them.
Right.
It's so we will, we'll give them the full show, and give them, the banter may be a little different. I may have some fun with the fact that it's a smaller crowd, and use that as a goof, and play around with them a little bit. But at the end of the day, they're gonna get our best, no matter what. So
you never know if those 10 people that showed up go tell their friends, and it's
of course
word of mouth, right?
I don't need 10 people to go home and say, hey, the band really didn't give a shit about being there that night. They didn't care,
right?
What is that? That doesn't. How does that help us? Nothing. It doesn't do anything for me, and it doesn't do anything for them. I mean, if I spend $10 to go to a club, and I don't know that it's going to be 700 people there, or there's going to be 30 people or 10 people. I don't know that. I just paid my admission, and I went in to see a band play. So that I expect that band to give me a show for my money. And so that's our philosophy every time we play, no matter who we're playing to,
So I know you're a Cheap Trick fan, but when it comes time to doing anything outside of Streetlight, like, what are you into? What are some of your hobbies? What do you like? Like, is there anything that you're into outside of music?
Yeah, I'm a fan of literature. I enjoy reading. I love. Decent cook and around the house a little bit here, and
Oh, I see the stuff you make, man. It's
yeah, I
amazing.
enjoyed doing that. Yeah, I have fun on the smoker and grilling and stuff like that. I play some softball, in some leagues and try to keep myself moving a little bit. But so yeah, I have a few things that keep me busy.
I hear you.
Um, yeah, and then I got a family. I got a 9-year-old daughter, and got soccer games to go to, things to do. So when I'm running around to Copenhagen for a week on my own, I got to come back and do the right things here at home too. So
Yeah, I hear you.
yeah.
Now, literature. I'm a literature guy too. Who do you like? Anybody? Any famous authors? I mean, favorite
Yeah.
authors?
My favorite, I would say that my favorite, in terms of more modern authors, is Cormac McCarthy. He wrote The Road, No Country for Old Men. Some people would know.
Yeah, yeah.
Blood Meridian. He's really dark. His books are brutal and bloody, but really introspective and fascinating. He's got a style that I love. And then I'm also into like a lot of. I love Chuck Klosterman, who's a great pop culture writer, hysterical. Big '80s hard rock fan too. Hard rockers should absolutely read Fargo Rock City. It's Chuck Klosterman's brilliant book, and it's kind of a defense of the whole '80s hard rock scene.
Oh, I
And
definitely want to read that then.
it is, and it's hysterical too. He's a brilliantly funny writer, but smart, really sharp. And he's written a lot of books. He's also written for tons of magazines for Rolling. He used to do Rolling Stone. I think it was for Esquire and ESPN. He wrote for. He's done a lot of commentary and stuff like that. So his books are great. But I'm happy picking up Hamlet or something from Mark Twain also, and some Shakespeare or whatever. So I
Hell
like.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm big into the classics.
yeah,
Outside of that, I'm ever since I was about 12 years old, I've been a hardcore Stephen King fan. So I read
Stephen King.
every faithfully.
Sure.
Paul
Yeah.
Auster, I like a lot. New York trilogy,
Yeah.
some of that
Yeah.
stuff. So
I find that literature is a great source of inspiration for songwriting, um, for lyrics. We have Streetlight Circus has several songs that were inspired. We have a song called "Give Up the Ghost." It's a line from Julius Caesar.
yep.
We have, we have a song on our first album called "We Are the Damned." It's based on the Damned Human Race essay by Mark Twain. Um, so, there's many times where I read a line. There's a line in just a throwaway line in a song called "My Fire" on our first album, where I refer to something as being Battleship Gray. I saw the phrase Battleship Gray in a separate piece in that novel, and I said, "Oh, that's a cool way of I'm going to pull that out." You just find little lines and say, "Oh, this could be my next song title," or inspire some lyrics or stuff. So, yeah, I find great inspiration in literature
My big revelation as far as the literature guy. Now I have my degree in English, so I've read
me too.
so much. So one book that I have never read until this year, and it was just earth shattering to me that I chose this point in my life to read it, was 1984. I had never read it. I knew what it was, never read it. Read it this year, and I was like, oh my god, it's so like it could be today.
Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
like
Absolutely. I had the same kind of revelation. I read this year for the first time "War of the Worlds" by
oh
H.G. Wells,
yeah.
and it's a prescient book. It's pretty. It was written in the late 1800s and could speak to issues today. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
interesting when you discover that. So
Yeah, when you see these great pieces of literature that are so like prophetic almost,
yeah, yeah,
it just blows my mind. I mean, unfortunately, another thing that was kind of prophetic was the movie Idiocracy that I saw.
yeah, yeah. Totally was.
So that
Yeah,
that was a little too
yeah,
close to home.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if that's a road we want to go down, but you're right. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So
Yeah.
what's up next for Streetlight? Like when's the next gig and
Well,
what are we
here's what I
looking
can
at?
tell you. We start rehearsing next week for the tour. So the first tour date is July 7th. It's a Thursday night in Rochester. And then we're off for a couple of weeks on the road, running around the Midwest. September 10th, we are playing Boonesboro, Maryland at the Interstate Rock Fest
Nice.
with Kicks, which will be really cool. And that's going to be, if people are in shouting distance of that show, we're doing an hour and a half set at that one. They gave us a nice,
That's awesome.
maybe too long. I don't know, but we're gonna make some use of that. And then the new album, I've already revealed it a few times live now, so I can say it here. The new album is called Superfine Sugar, and you know, I was joking that I get inspired by literature. That was inspired at the supermarket, looking at the Domino's sugar thing, and it said Superfine Sugar on it. And I went home and wrote a song, and now it's become the name of the album. So
hey man, maybe that festival you'd be able to bring Brian out on stage.
You know, it's that would be cool, and I have brought that up to Brian. I don't know if we're going to do that or not, but we will. I'll say it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Gotcha.
When I can't give a specific release date for the album, I know that our graphics guy is working on cover art right now. We just did the photo shoot for it. It's like I said, it's mixed and mastered, ready to roll. I'd like to, get a video filmed to in the next couple of months, and I would say in the next few months, we're gonna be able to announce a big release of it. And then you'll have me back on, and we can talk all about it.
Hell yeah!
And,
now, is there anything you can give us as far as first single, title of the first single coming off that?
My instinct right now, based on conversations we've had, is just that it will be a song that we've already been playing live called "Take Me to the River." I think that's going to be the first one. There's a possibility that it'll be the title track, but I think the songs that we've been playing live so far that we've already thrown out there and that have gotten a really, I got to say, really great response from our fans, has been "Take Me to the River," "Superfine Sugar," a song called "Cherry Cola," which is also
I know that. Yeah, I've seen you guys do that one.
Yeah, that's got single possibility. It's a very kind of power poppy type of it's almost like, I don't know, it's a hard rock tip of the hat to the Cars in some ways. So that's a possibility. We've debuted already a song called "Pay My Rent," a song called "Zero at the Bone." I don't know if those are necessarily going to be singles, but they're songs that have gone over well live. So, but I think "Take Me to the River" and or "Superfine Sugar" are vying for the first release. We will see. We are in discussions. We'll see.
So, Dave, thank you so much for everything, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for hanging today, man, and really looking forward to, I'm going to have to come down to that festival in Maryland. It looks like it's going to be the first one that's going to be close to home for us.
Yeah, please do. It's going to be a fun show, and we're really excited. We're going on. I think there's one band between us and Kicks on that Saturday night. It's a 2-day festival of a lot of like local independent bands, some cover bands, and then Kicks is headlining, and we got a pretty prime spot. I think it's like a 4:00 slot or 4:30, an hour and a half. It's great way to kind of end the summer. So yeah, please come on out, and I hope a lot of other people do as well. It's gonna be a blast. We're looking forward to that.
Sounds great, man. Send my best to you and your family, man. And enjoy the rest of your week, brother.
Streetlightcircus.com. Everybody get over there and go like us on social media and all that stuff. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you having me on.
Talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
So there was Dave from Streetlight Circus, man. Really, really glad to have him in. As you guys see, he will be involved in a lot of stuff coming up, and you guys get the chance to check him out in the Midwest. Really looking forward to the festival in Maryland, because that'll be the first day close to home, hoping to get out there. And just as a reminder, we have a show coming up July 15th, man. Unfortunately, we had a band pull out of that show. So now you're looking at Psychedelic Elders, which have been doing quite a number of our shows, our live events. I love them guys. Really, really cool old heads, man. And they play amazing music. First time at Bar 13, so I'm excited for that. You also have Hammer Sheep. If you guys remember going back to July 15th last year, Sorry, July 31st of last year. This year's date is July 15th. July 31st last year, my birthday bash, I got up on stage with Hammer Sheep and belted out a tune. Not saying it's out of the realm of possibility on this one. In fact, it looks very probable at this point. And then you also have Baba Boom out of New York City, man. Really excited to bring them down. Robbie's a good dude, Robbie Valentine from that band. And then you will also be seeing Moonroof, which is another great band. This will be their second event on a Rock and Roll Union stage. First one being at the Toy Drive this past December. So if you haven't had the chance to check them out yet, make sure you come out. Guys, hoping you guys are staying healthy, happy, safe over the summer. Stay hydrated. Be kind, and until next time, don't just leave it. Leave it better. Much love, guys.